When I was first looking into this world of blogging and online business and creating content regularly for people, I noticed there were two trains of thought when it came to the quality of content that you're putting out there. On one hand, wow them at every turn and over deliver and make sure that people are just like, oh, with sparkles in their eyes at your content. And then on the other side, it's like, well, just put it out there, just publish it, just ship it, whatever, like get it out there. And so I couldn't really reconcile. I'm like, well, then how do you know when it's good enough? Because if you're supposed to wow them, but yet you don't feel ready, then what the heck are you supposed to do? How do you know when good is good enough? I'm Nikki Elledge Brown, the communication stylist, a usually high-functioning perfectionist, and in this video I want to tell you how I process and how I figure out is good enough, and I'm going to give you two questions at the end to help you decide if something really is good enough for you to put out there. So first, a little psychological backstory on my label, the perfectionist. Okay, so this goes like way back to elementary school when I would make really good grades and I'd be like the fastest girl for the times tables, like I was fastest worker and best handwriting, like just a nerd, which I love, and that's always just kind of been part of my thing, that followed me all the way through middle school and high school. Everybody would roll their eyes. Oh, Nikki broke the curve, but I mean, if somebody got a better grade than me, they certainly would let me hear about it. But it was just kind of my reputation. Like, people just expected, oh, Nikki got the high grade. Oh, Nikki got the high grade. That went all the way through my master's program. I'm not even kidding. But I still had friends, which was a miracle. But not, because I'm the kind of perfectionist who says I'm not perfect. I'm obviously priding myself on that authentic piece and being real, and that's why I've always hated the label perfectionist, because to me, perfectionist means like arrogant, like someone who actually thinks that they can do everything perfectly, and I know that I cannot. But I do always want to do the best that I can do. So and fast forward from, third grade all the way through to a few months ago when I sat down and we were starting the rebrand process for my new website. And my friend slash creative BFF Sarah was like, why don't you go to howtofascinate.com and take that personality test to see what comes back? Just, it'd be fun and kind of could inform the direction we're going in. Well, wouldn't you know it, out of like 49 different types, personality types, my result based on my top two triggers came back as the perfectionist. And I was really genuinely annoyed for a little bit until I realized, so the way that it works is there are all these different personality triggers. I think there are 7, and then you have your top 2, and that's what shapes what your personality type is, and then you have a dormant trigger. So I was the perfectionist, but then my dormant trigger was mystique, meaning I don't have mystique. That's why people say, oh, you're so approachable, or, people feel so comfortable around you. And I thought, that's why it makes sense, because even though I was a perfectionist and making good grades, I was also really friendly with people. I got along with people really well, so it made it hard for people to hate me for making a perfect score. And so I think that's kind of representative. I was like, I can work with that, I'm okay with, and I have to know and love that part about myself. That yes, I do always want to do my best. And so yes, okay, that could be classified as a perfectionist, but I also always want to keep it real and know that I will make mistakes. So what does that have to do with running a business? Well, so many of my favorite clients and students and readers and customers are also self-proclaimed or diagnosed perfectionists. And it can get us stuck. It can keep you stuck. And this is the funniest, weirdest, craziest thing, is that in the history of my business, I'm known for just going for it, even before it feels perfect or ready. So some examples. My splash page, and you can go back to the Wayback Machine, literally, and see splash pages, and I have this up on my site. What my first splash page looked like. It did not look fancy or perfect, but there you go. It brought in my first 700 and something subscribers. My first offer, I put it out there, but I didn't really know what it was going to be when I put it out there. It wasn't ready, but I knew I could back it up. My first website was pretty darn plain, but it did the job, and it helped me start building credibility. My first course, for Pete's sake, I was just flying by the seat of my pants in terms of the launching. I was just writing those emails as I went along and kind of taking people on the journey with me. I was creating the course content. I had it all outlined, but I didn't put it into PowerPoint and record the darn thing until I was actually going through it with my founding class. That's all crazy. But Here's why I was able to do that. Because my friend slash intuitive success coach, Michelle Simmons, we were talking about this perfectionist thing and how I was so resistant to the label. We were talking about how things don't have to be perfect, because really, really good is good enough. And so sometimes a perfectionist might think, well, good enough isn't good enough. I mean, that sounds like you're settling. But if it's really, really good, it is good enough. Does that make sense? You know, like if you think about something being, so we were like, okay, let's think of a percentage of what would be good enough. And we were like 90%. And then I was like, no, let's say 95%. So think about something being 95%, like the best you can do to 95%. There's a lot of beauty in that 5%. You know, there's a lot of likability, just, oh, she's a real person, her nail polish is chipped. There's a lot of likability in that random typo. I mean, people love to find typos in my stuff. That's another tip, you know. You can update those typos later on once you know better. But anyway, so that's kind of the point, is that really, really good can be good enough. And so I wanted to give you in this video 2 questions to ask yourself to help you decide when something is good enough to go forward. So question number 1 is, does it feel really, really good to you? Because you shouldn't put something out there and you're like, oh, it's just good enough. If you don't feel good about it, then it's not ready yet. So don't put it out there if you don't feel confident about it. So the first question is about how you feel about it. The second question is kind of a trick question, because it's, are your customers and clients happy with it? Why is that a trick question? Because you can't know if your customers and clients are happy with it until you put it out there, which means you've got to put it out there. So if you feel pretty good about something, put it out there and give yourself and your customers the opportunity to engage in that feedback. And the whole cycle of communication, feedback is a really important part of that loop. So you might think something feels really good and you put it out there and you get confirmation. Or you think something's pretty good and then you put it out there and it needs some work. So you use that feedback to go back and improve it. The key is to put it out there. Another one of my favorite sayings that popped into my brain last year is that it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be shared. And that's my point with everything. Whether it's your site, whether it's your specific about page, whether it's your first course, whatever it is, work on it. Do your 95% best, but don't like obsess over it all being perfect, because you're going to want to change something anyway once you get feedback. So ask yourself those 2 questions. Do I feel pretty good about it? Good enough to put it out there with confidence? And then once you put it out there, ask yourself, how do my clients feel about it? Are they happy with it? So those are the 2 questions to ask. For the functioning perfectionists out there, let's just get it moving. Just put something out there. Throw the spaghetti into the wall and see what sticks. So in the comments below, NikkiLHBrown.com, I would love to hear from you. This is like a public proclamation. What's one thing you're going to put out there within the next 7 days, whether it is a blog post or a splash page if you don't have a site up yet, or an offer that you're kind of working on but you feel pretty good about it? What's one thing you're going to put out there in the next 7 days? Make a proclamation below this video and then come back and share a link, because I want to see it and I'm cheering you on. Perfectionists, take a deep breath. Know that we're not perfect, and that is totally fine, because otherwise no one would like us. So admit that really, really good is good enough. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you next time. See ya.